The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning. Well, no, I guess it's not. Yeah, it's so funny. My producer hears me do this every time. Good afternoon, Philadelphia. Welcome to another Ask the Experts. We're also modulating in Dallas as well. But this is our big show for Philadelphia. Just a real short story. We were on radio for 8 years in Philadelphia. Great station, but then things have changed in the digital world, and it's becoming more people are watching podcasts like you're doing right now, streaming TV, and I didn't really believe it until I saw an article that Ford is going to eliminate all their AM radio. I guess the radio portion of it, they'll still have FM, because all the new electric cars, for some reason, AM radio does not work well. I knew then I got to get out of this. We got to move over and catch up with the times. And we had gotten so many calls from listeners going, why don't you have a wealth management expert on your show or a financial advisor? Because it seems like the people you bring in on the show are really good. And people would say, you really have to, when it comes to someone handling your money for you, you've really got to have somebody you can trust and understand. And I was so lucky that we found our next expert. He started with us in TV. I knew we had a winner when other wealth management or financial advisors would call us after they saw Alvin's show and say, how do I get a show like that? Well, we do this exclusively. Alvin is our finance guy, financial planning, wealth management, anything that has to do with finances. Alvin is our man there. So they go, these people who are calling, usually they'll cut the expert down. They want to think they're making themselves look good by doing that. What is so amazing with Alvin is we never had one person say one negative thing about it. In fact, 2 of the 4 said, hey, I know of Alvin. He's got a great reputation. And I knew then, listen, when your competitors are even talking nice about you, you know you got a winner. And this is our first TV show together. Let me welcome our expert. And I mean, he is really good, folks. You do not want to miss this show tonight. Let me introduce you to Alvin Clay. He's the managing partner at Alvin Clay Financial Advisors. And we are going to be talking money tonight. And I have got so many questions. Good evening, Alvin.
Good evening, Steve. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. I got to tell you, I've thought about you a lot the last couple of weeks because with what's going on with banks. And I got to tell you, we got a lot of email, Alvin, people a little nervous, and I can't get into it with them. but maybe you can. But before we do that, tell everybody about your practice and about yourself.
I think it was Bill Cosby who said I started out as a child. An album back in the 70s. So I'll start a little later. I'm a graduate of Villanova University, and I started my career with one of the big national accounting firms, and quickly got into the tax department, where I got my master's degree in tax law while I was there, and became very interested in taxation of investments and financial planning way back then. And then I was recruited away from there, became the tax director of a regional investment banking and brokerage firm. I was 27 when that happened. So I think
2 years ago, right?
So it was just a few years ago.
Yeah.
Then I got recruited away from there and I was the tax director of I guess you'd call it a multifamily office, a high net worth, very affluent family where the fortune came from the captains of industry and that kind of thing. And so I was recruited as the tax director. 4 years later, I was the president of the company. And so I was there for 18 years. So a lot of my career has been there. And then I left and became the CEO and part owner of another private trust company. The majority owner 4 years later had to sell it. It was back in that the banking crisis, and they had a lot of banks, and so I agreed and I helped them do it. So we sold it, and then I became a free agent and had to decide what to do. And having put 7 kids through college and paid for 4 daughters' weddings, I couldn't retire. So I decided to start my own business, and along the way, by the way, I was ordained a deacon in the Catholic Church, and the church where I serve is about 100 yards that way. So I decided.
So you're a deacon also.
Yeah, I'm ordained 20 years.
Yes.
So
wow.
So I have my office here because I can walk back and forth if I need to. I also advertise in a lot of church bulletins,
Now, Alvin, I got to say this, and we kind of said something. Here we are in tax season. Why is your office so clean? You did it just for the show.
I did.
I know.
For the show, I stuffed everything. Like if you're going to have a party in the house, you put everything in closets and lock the closet doors so somebody doesn't open it up. That's what it's.
Oh God! Spitting the food out in the napkin. Anyway, I think it's a great story how you got started. Boy, you just knew in college what you wanted to do, didn't you?
Pretty much so. It's funny. It's not just to be in finance, but it's to do it the right way. And I have some guys that I've been meeting with for 25 years, and the issue of business ethics came up, and they asked me to talk a little bit about it. And they said, well, I had the privilege of giving the valedictorian speech at Villanova in 1979, and that was the topic, business ethics. So
that's impressive, Alvin.
So it's been. It's heavy on. I won't say it's heavy on my mind. It's part of my life's work to do things the right way.
Wow. Well, I got to ask you, and you know what? If you can't answer this, I totally understand. But you're a person who I trust. What is going on with these banks, Alvin?
Well. It's very complex. In the case of Silicon Valley Bank, it was really a matter of, there's a certain way that a balance sheet of a bank is supposed to be managed. Banking 101, and they seem to have violated it. For some reason, the regulators didn't pick up on it, and they took. It's called. There's a risk that a bank will take when it takes its money, and not part of what it does with its money is lend it out, and that's an asset for a bank. What's what's a liability for you is an asset for the guy on the other side, the bank. But they also invest some of that money, and they invested a boatload of it in long-term U.S. Treasuries, and trying to get that 2% yield. But what happens is that when interest rates start to go up, the value of your bonds goes down, because interest rates are now 4%. Your bonds only pay 2%, so the value goes down. And they had a lot locked up in there, and they didn't hedge it. And so the value of their assets started to decrease. The word got out, and they had a lot of depositors that were institutional depositors with very large deposits. And they started pulling the money out, and there was a run on the bank. It's really, it's a shame, but that's what happened.
So was it the regulators then that just didn't do their job?
Well, you hear, I don't know the facts, but I listen a lot to what people who really know banks say. And first of all, they criticize the bank and the management and the board. I mean, one of the things they said, only one member of the board had any banking experience.
Oh, gosh.
Well, I'm sure these are smart people. They probably lawyers and whoever, but
right.
But that was part of the issue, and there was some question that they may have been distracted with other goals for the business other than sound banking. But really, the regulators should have been on top of this. This isn't stuff that's hidden,
right?
The other thing is that their depositors tended to be, from a single industry. So you've got all of these people in Silicon Valley. So if you're a bank, just like an investor wants his investments to be diversified, if you're a bank, you don't want to have all real estate people, all tech people, and they were very concentrated. And in Silicon Valley, these guys all talk to one another, which is
right.
How the run on the bank started. So, I mean, that's really what it was. If there wasn't a run on the bank, it probably would have survived. But this isn't. It's a Wonderful Life, where Jimmy Stewart can stand in front of you and appeal to your heart to allow the bank to live. They pulled the money out, and that's what happened. I don't think it's a systemic problem.
Okay.
In the banks, Again, I'm not an expert on that, but I've listened to it enough, and most banks don't have that same issue. And you can be sure that if they did, they've been shoring it up since then.
Well, I just hope that this doesn't continue on, because, as a taxpayer, I don't want to have to keep paying for other people's mistakes.
Well, one thing it'll tell you, Steve, is that if you have very large amounts of money that you have to keep short-term and liquid, it's foolish to put all of that money in any bank. If instead of making deposits in the bank, the people these institutions had purchased treasury bills, they would have gotten essentially the same rate of interest, but they didn't. It's not on deposit on the bank.
Right.
It's as if you own treasury bills and you're even if you're a brokerage firm or a trust company, it's as if they're sitting in the safe. The bank can't use them. They can't lend it out. There's nothing they can do with it. It's just your money. They're just holding on to it for you. And so if they really, I don't understand why so many of these companies left themselves exposed that way. And that was another thing. I suppose it was the naivete of the bank's customers as well.
Right. Well, I got to tell you, a lot of people got really worried when it was going on, and I just hope that that's going to be it. I had heard that they had also invested a lot of money in the guy who's going to be going to jail for a long time, the Encrypto guy.
Right.
I heard that
Maybe, yeah, but I don't think that was the big. I don't think they may have, but I don't think that's what did it. What really did
Okay.
it, they had 30-year bonds that were not hedged. And when the interest rates went up, the value of those bonds dipped dramatically. And when the word got out that their balance sheet was insolvent, essentially, there was a run on the bank. And that's what happened.
Well, our phones are going crazy right now. I just got 3 text messages from viewers wanting to know your thoughts on precious metals.
Oh boy. Well, precious metal. I mean, you're talking about gold and silver primarily, right?
Probably, yes.
And I think it's fine to have gold and silver in your portfolio to give it some hedge against inflation. But the truth is that over the long term, financial assets have performed better. And the way I look at it is
Really? Wow, that's, I
you
didn't know
look, if your money was in the stock market for the last 50 years, you're better off than having your money in precious metals.
that. Right.
It's a different type of. I think an investment is something that produces something, right? So if you own a piece of a company, it provides a service, it makes a product, it makes a profit, and it distributes those profits to its shareholders, or it reinvests it to grow a business. Even if you buy a bond, you're lending money to a company and it earns interest, and they pay you for the use of their money. I think investments should produce something. When you buy gold, and it may be a smart thing to do, it's because you are trying to reduce risk, that you're trying to have ballast in your portfolio, that you're really not trying to make money, you're trying to not lose it. And you may or may not be successful at that, because when everybody's buying, the price is up.
Well, I have a feeling, Alvin, the reason why we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people just wrote us is because gold has gone way up in the last couple of days. I think it went over the $2,000 mark.
Yeah, well, what happens is, if you have the former president getting arrested, and you have some of the bad actors around the world getting in bed with one another, people start worrying about the peace in the world and global issues, and our dollar has been getting whacked. That they look at gold as a flight to safety, and
Right.
and I don't blame someone if they want to do that. But if you put a very significant amount of your money in gold or silver, that's a huge risk. It's a huge risk that it's going to drop, because that's what happens. When things get better and people are calmer, then the value of gold goes back down again. So that's why they're doing. I mean, I'm not going to say that if you buy gold you're stupid. I just think it's a different thing than an investment in something that produces something.
Right. So tell me something. Yeah, you have basically a boutique type business now. You have managed larger companies. What's the difference? What do you like better?
Well, I like what I do now better, and earlier in my career, I got the biggest kick out of creating strategies. I was, and especially when you have, very, very wealthy clients. If you create what might be just a simple strategy, it's great leverage, and you can save lots of money in tax dollars and that type of thing. And I'd like to be creative, and I still do. But eventually, I was managing a company, and even though I still had my skills in investments and taxes and those things, that I was mostly managing a company. and doing human resource stuff, and obviously trying to grow the company. But it was managing for the most part, and I didn't have any individual clients assigned to me, not a single one. If we had the larger client, well, we had this one Turkish billionaire where I had to visit him in Istanbul a few times, and so I took that off the hands of one of the people who was assigned to them. Looked like they were a deer in the headlights, and I said,
Yeah.
"Would you like me to take this client?" They said, "Yes, please." So that was one. So the difference now is, in the room on the other side of this wall here, I have a conference room, and I sit across the table. It was my mother-in-law's dining room table that I had refinished, and I sit across the table from people and get to know them and help solve their problems, and the gratification is just extraordinary. And in this business, this is not, let me give you a stock tip. This is,
Yes.
let me know everything about you, and if you're willing, and what do you want to accomplish in life, and what are your hopes, goals, dreams, aspirations, risks? How do you feel about things? Let's pull all of this together, make some sense of it, and then decide how you might want to invest your money afterwards. And when you get into that, you're giving a whole lot of advice. I have a motto, and it's on my coaster here, but
Keep your desk clean.
it's integrity, expertise, and wisdom, right? So I say that integrity is obvious. In this business, if you can't be trusted, then you shouldn't be in business.
That's how I started off the show. It's the trust factor in your business is so, oh my gosh. I used to read about it. It seemed like every other week there would be some financial planner, and they had basically, I'm sure by accident, stolen a little money from their clients. And, I got to tell you that I used to be a sports agent, and I had a client, very big client, and I always would tell people, don't let your agent manage your money. That's not what they do. They should have a person like you managing their money, not a sports agent. But everybody seemed like they wanted to do that. So I guess the investment advisor was trying to make himself look good. He put $750 into a CD at one bank.
750,000, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
And I said, do you understand that you're only insured? And at the time it was 150,000.
Right.
But I guess the point I'm trying to make is there's a lot of people, just because they have money doesn't mean they're well educated.
Well, that goes to the second part. So if you might have somebody that has integrity, trustworthy person, but they also have to know what they're doing.
Yes.
Right. So it could be they're a well-meaning person, and they won't tell a lie, and they'll do what they think's in your best interest, but they may not have the expertise to do that.
I agree.
So you integrity, expertise, and the wisdom part is really an aspirational goal. And what that really means is that when you've done this long enough, and you've seen people make decisions, and you've seen the consequences of those decisions, what happens is you're sitting across the table from somebody, and they say, I would like to do this. And I can say, well, you can do that. And here is what can happen that is positive, and here's what can happen that is negative. And I've seen both. So, so what do you think? And what are your...
But you let them make the decision, though.
Oh, obviously. Yeah. They have to make the decision. It's an informed decision. Every once in a while, they'll just say, well, what would you do? And I would say, well, if it's my money, I would do A, B, C. They do pay me for advice, so I give it to them. I don't shy away and say, I'm never going to tell you what I think you should do, but I need to educate you first. And usually what happens is with the education, the decision becomes obvious, and they make it and we agree.
Well, you know what, Alvin, it's so good that, that we can have you on a show like this, because you're very talented in other ways too. And it's your communication skills. And I was just sitting here listening to you, and it's so comforting. That's the best word I could think of, that I'm understanding everything you're saying, and you can tell you're being totally honest. And it's such a refreshing feeling, Alvin, because I mean, there's people in your industry, not you, but who've gotten a bad rap. But with you, I mean, it's like I would definitely want to sit down with you and would trust you. And, I know you will give a second opinion to somebody who wants you to look over their portfolio and get your thoughts.
Oh, sure. It's funny. I run these ads in church bulletins.
Okay.
And I would have people call me from time to time. And at one point, someone who knew in the marketing business said, you have to make some invitation there. So I just changed a little thing. I said, come in for a complimentary consultation. And the phone started ringing because people said, I think I want to talk to the guy, but I don't know how much it's going to cost me. So I just.
Right, exactly.
I'll give anybody an hour, and they may not want me to advise them. They may not qualify as a client, but I'll spend an hour with them, and they'll leave with some value and hopefully say nice things about me if it doesn't work out. And that works out pretty well.
Alvin, I want you to be totally, I mean, I know you are honest, but I really want you, this is an important question, and it's okay to pat yourself on the back. But what is the difference between, say, yourself and another company like yours?
Well, when I have some guys that I've met with for a long time, and when I was CEO of these other companies, and when I was thinking what to do next, they were quizzing me, on doing this business. I made a presentation to them, and when I and they started asking what some of the differences are. And what happens is that I'm a registered investment advisor, and not too many people in our business have all of my background. I'm a CPA.
Right.
Not there are CPAs who are registered investment advisors, but that cuts down to maybe, I don't know, 15 or 20%. I have a master's degree in tax law. I've been CEO of two larger companies that do this type of thing in a big way. It's this combination of there's a background that I have that probably a very small percentage of people who are registered advisors. Most people who are registered investment advisors were stockbrokers who decided to leave the big company and start their own thing. And stockbrokers usually don't have a stockbroker is primarily selling financial products. That's what they're paid to do. They have to know the products that they sell, and most of them do. Not all of them do, but that's what a stockbroker is. He doesn't necessarily have an in-depth knowledge in some of the other areas. I'm a certified financial planner as well. I forgot to throw that.
Okay.
And a personal financial specialist, which is. So I got all these letters after my name, but it's weird.
Well, what is the difference between a registered investment advisor and a broker?
I'll tell you the difference, and I'll also tell you it's one of my pet peeves, and that is that when all of these regulations for financial markets started to come up after the stock market crash in the 30s and the 40s, they decided that there was a difference, and there was a Chinese wall between, probably not allowed to say that, but anyway, between the registered investment advisors and stockbrokers. And stockbrokers were paid a commission to sell a product. And back then, they even regulated the commissions. They were not allowed to take a fee for giving advice. A registered investment advisor gets paid for his or her advice and is not allowed to take a commission for selling a product. Well,
so it's exactly what it says it is.
Well, it was. Because what has happened is, and this is probably from the influence of the very large investment banking firms, brokerage firms, over the regulations, you can be dual registered. You can be both a stockbroker and a registered investment advisor. And as a result, you can sit in a meeting with a client and almost literally change your hat in the middle of the meeting. And I'm not, I have a lot of friends who do that, and not they change their hat in the middle of the meeting, but they're
that might look a little funny.
Yeah, but there's a reason for the difference, and that is that if you're a registered investment advisor, you're a fiduciary, which basically means that your advice has to be in the best interest of the client. And that, well, I'll just make it simpler, is that if I recommend to somebody that they need more life insurance, it's because I think they need more life insurance. That's complicated, isn't it?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, I might be wrong, but it's not because I'm going to sell them a policy. I'm recommending it because I think it's the right thing for them to do.
I got you.
And the same thing, and what happens is that when you are a person who's selling them the product, it changes the relationship a little bit. I don't mind that happening when everyone knows. You know, when you go to buy a suit, the guy tells you look great in it. you know that he wants you to buy that suit so he can have a commission. So you take opinion with a grain of salt, or with a car or anything else like that. People sell things and they get commissions, and there's nothing wrong with that, and we need them to do that. But the investing public out there doesn't know that there's a difference, and that people. So when I started this business, I decided I would not get a broker's license either for investments or for insurance, and give up that stream of income, because I believe that in the long run, when people know that my advice is completely independent, that the business will be more successful. Not to mention I could live with myself. I'm not casting aspersions on people who are stockbrokers or insurance brokers. I just don't like the fact that in our industry, you can be both at the same time in the same room. And I think people get confused. They have no idea what the difference is between a registered investment advisor and a financial planner and a stockbroker and an insurance agent. They don't know. And I think that what I try to do is make sure that people know what a registered investment advisor is, what a fiduciary is, and that when I give advice because I think that's the best thing to do, and I have the experience to back it up.
We just got a text in from Jamie. He wants to know, what other vehicles do you sell? I know he doesn't mean car, but you do have other things you sell, though.
No, I sell advice.
Yes.
I don't sell any products. So this is what I do is
So what do you do if someone needs an annuity, or if somebody needs a life insurance policy?
I will refer them to somebody.
Okay.
Or if they need their will drafted, I'll do the estate planning, and I will refer them to the attorney that I think fits their, and I don't get it paid for that. I don't get referral fees. I said, look, I have got attorneys that are $200 an hour, $500, $1,000, $2,000. it depends on how complicated the situation is. If someone's got a rather simple situation, I'll send them to the attorney around the corner who won't charge them as much.
Okay.
So, and same thing if they need an insurance policy. We'll talk about. I'll refer them to somebody, or sometimes I'll tell them, look, you go on to Select Quotes.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the world
That's
is
right.
Look, what we're doing right now, the world has changed. And if you know what you want to buy and you've already gotten some advice, you can go online and get a pretty darn good deal on some of this stuff. So, I don't sell a product, I give the advice. The way I get paid is typically based on the value of their assets that I manage. And but it covers everything. It's essentially a year-round fee for as much access as they need.
It really does sound like you love what you do. And I think you really love educating people, because at least I think you feel like in your mind that there is people getting some bad advice out there, Alvin. At least, when you're giving them the advice, it's pretty good, sound advice.
Well, or if I don't know something, I'll say I don't know it.
Right.
I'll give you an example. Especially if you listen to financial talk radio, you hear a lot about annuities, or sometimes they don't even tell you that it's an annuity that they're selling.
Right.
They'll have some other catchphrase for it, that it's safe or it avoids market crashes or that type of thing. And I'm constantly battling that. And my problem, and I think annuities have a place. My problem is that every time someone has come in here for an evaluation and they show me an annuity they've invested in, I haven't had a single person who understands what they own.
I'd be embarrassed. I would be embarrassed.
Now, I don't know whether the person who sold it to them understood it. He or she probably did, but I don't know that. All I know is, and even it might even be the right thing for them. But when I tell them what they own, I'll give you an example. So I had someone come in who they bought an annuity, and it was a type of annuity. It's a variable annuity, and it's tied to what you earn inside the annuity contract is tied to the return on the market index. So if it goes up, you get part of the index return. If it goes down, you get zero. And he said, look, this is diversified. I've got part of it is in the Standard & Poor's 500, part of it is on the FTSE in London, and part of it is some other index. And I looked at it and I said, okay, yes, that one has a 2% annual cap.
Oh.
That one has a 3% annual cap, and the other one has a 3% annual cap. So forget about all those.
Was he surprised?
I said, all those things that you think you're invested in mean nothing. You're going to get between 0 and 2 on that, and 0 and 3 on that, and 0 and 3 on that. Yeah, I was surprised. He had no idea. And I said that may have been at the time you did it. If you knew what you were buying and you bought it anyway, that's fine. He didn't know. He didn't know, and didn't know what questions to ask. And that's I have a guy who called me yesterday and wants to take me out to lunch to tell me that there's a new world of annuities. And I said, I have an open mind. Well, for example, there are annuities that are out there now that are for people like me, registered investment advisors that don't get a commission. So, and I said, well, I'll listen to that, because one of the biggest problems financially with the annuities is they'll pay you 6, 7, or 8% commission up front. The insurance company will pay it to the broker, the insurance broker, which means that if you put that $100,000 in there, $8,000 of it's gone, right away.
Yeah, right.
And that's why there are surrender charges, because if you go to cash in that annuity, the insurance company says, no, you can't do that. I just paid that guy $8,000.
Right.
So, that's if you can have an annuity that doesn't have that $8,000 problem. So anyway, I have an open mind about it. And look, an annuity, what it really is insuring you against your own longevity. If you look at it as an insurance product so that you'll continue to get money after you've outlived what the mortality tables say, and that fits your needs, and you know what you're paying for it, and you know what you're giving up, that's fine. I think, and I think it's fine. It's just that I haven't had a single person yet who explained why they did it that way.
Okay. Well, first of all, we've had two people now just ask us, give us your phone number, Alvin.
It is 267 626 2382. 267 626 2382.
What is your website address?
It's very difficult. alvinclay.com.
Yeah, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
Folks, if you notice, one nice thing about Alvin is he's definitely got a sense of humor.
Well, you know,
So you're sitting down for that hour with that, it's not going to be.
Well, I tell people you're lucky I don't charge by the hour because I spend most of the time telling stories.
Oh, okay.
So what was an hour became two because, you know, I told them how I got kicked out of a Boy Scout meeting once, you know.
Oh my God. So, and you know, and Alvin's going to be with us every month now, which is really good. And I want you to tell your friends about this. You know, if you've got parents who do investing, you've got friends, we have got the greatest financial advisor on here. And as you can see, you can really pick up a lot of things. And Alvin, the way he does, he's here to help you. And it's such a refreshing feeling. I got to tell you, we've had 14 texts tonight, and this is our first night of TV. So I can't wait to next month and our second month, and we'll see what the numbers look like.
Are any of them from insurance guys who think I badmouthed them?
Yeah, what's so great about podcasts is people use it to learn. And God, Alvin, I have talked to so many people in the last 2 months that used to just love listening to the radio stations in the car. They don't do that anymore. They listen to their podcast. And we're also part of iHeart and Apple. So if you want to hear today's show again, you'll be able to hear it again. You can go to YouTube and watch it. You can go to iHeart. But when we give you these numbers, please keep them because you never know when you're going to need them. It's very important. Alvin, let's give your phone number and your website one more time.
Well, the website is scrolling down the bottom of the screen there, www.alvinclay.com. And my phone number is 267 626 2382.
And you will be more than happy to sit down with somebody, not all day, maybe for an hour, and give them a good evaluation of things that they should be doing.
Sure. What we do, somebody wants to come in, they call, and we set an appointment, and we tell them the more information they could give to me ahead of time, probably the more productive the meeting will be. Sometimes they show me their entire life, and sometimes they're more close to the vest, and they say, "Well, I'll just bring some stuff with me." That's fine.
It's because you make them feel so comfortable when they come in. That's the reason.
Well, it's up to them. They can share as much or as little, but the fact of the matter is, if you're going to have a financial advisor, you got to lay it all on the table. It would be as if I asked them how much they earned for, at their job, and they say, "Well, that's personal." Well, that's why it's called personal financial planning, I guess. I need to know that information. But and it's got, obviously it's all in confidence, and I'm used to that, frankly, from my church work too.
Well, his name is Alvin, and I am telling you, I'm actually, if you want to call this an endorsement, you can call it an endorsement. I love this guy. His name is Alvin Clay. He's a managing partner at Alvin Clay Financial Advisors. His phone number is 267-626-2382. And you can also go to his website at www.alvinclay.com. And you know what? I would love for you next time Alvin's back on the show to tell me you went to his office and you sat down, and I'd love to hear about how that hour went. I think that would be so interesting. Alvin, you're the man. You're just such an easy interview, and I can't thank you enough. We'll let everybody know when you're going to be on next month. But
will that be no true?
No. We'll let you know the next day. Alvin, thank you so much.
Steve, good to be with you.
That was Alvin Clay. He's got so many letters after his name, but he is the managing partner for Alvin Clay Financial Advisors. And his phone number is 267-626-2382. We will have more next week with Ask the Experts. We've got some incredible experts coming on. Have a wonderful week, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.